Here on the Homebrew Challenge, I've been happily brewing my way through various types of stout. I've done Irish stout, milk stout, oatmeal stout, and now tropical stout. I'm Martin Keane and I am in my basement come home brewery, working my way through brewing 99 different beer styles. Now, for the longest time I have been fermenting the vast majority of my beers in one of these. This is an SS Brewtech brew bucket. I have 3 of these and I really like them. The thing with these is though, they are intended to ferment between 5 and 6 gallons of beer. These days, I'm not doing 5 gallons of beer very often. I'm mainly doing half-size batches, 2.5 gallons. And Anvil have sent me their version of a brew bucket, and this is intended for smaller batches. This fits 4 gallons of beer, so it may be just perfect for my 2.5 gallon batch. We're going to find out. But before we worry about fermentation, I guess we should probably brew something. And that something this week is the style of tropical stout. Now, the origins of this beer is it's a beer that originated in Britain and was exported to the West Indies, and to survive that journey, the beer had a higher gravity and was more heavily hopped, which sounds just a little bit like the IPA story. And today this is a popular beer style in the Caribbean. And you might be thinking, stout? That doesn't seem like it's really suitable to warm weather. But actually, this does go very well in a warm climate. It is sweet and fruity, but also roasty. Now, sweet, fruity and roasty, that sounds like an interesting challenge for recipe design, and here's how we're going to get there. So building a beer with an original gravity of 1059, that's a 5.9% beer. The base malt is Maris Otter at 78%. Then I'm adding in Crystal 45 at 6% and Crystal 120 at 6%. Then here come the specials. We have Special B going in at 4% and Carafa Special 2 going in also at 4%. Then to finish things off, we're going to add just a little bit of roasted barley. That's 2% roasted barley. Giving this my usual mash treatment of 67 Celsius or 152 Fahrenheit. So let's talk about this 4-gallon stainless steel fermenter, which was supplied to me by Anvil. Now, this is intended for fermenting 2.5 or 3 gallon batches, which is just perfect for me now with what I'm doing. So this is consisting, first of all, of this stainless steel lid here. It just comes with a little hole port here and then a stopper and an airlock. Then if we look inside the fermenter itself, you can see that there are etched inside here measurements, so you can see exactly how much wort you're putting in here. It has a coned bottom in it, and then we have a racking arm inside and then the tap assembly here. So the idea is that when you put your beer in, you'll put this on the top, then you can seal the lid up with these to keep this nice and tight. Then when it's time to get the beer out, what you'll do is you will turn this tap so that it turns the racking arm. So if I turn this up here like this, then that's moving the racking arm inside of my fermenter as I turn this. Now that's important because this not being a conical fermenter, we don't want to suck up any trub. So when you first start pouring, you want to move the racking arm so that it is horizontal, and then start to lower it as you get nearer to the bottom, and then stop once you have reached the trub level. Now, just to give you a sense of scale, this is the 4-gallon fermenter from Anvil, and this is the 7-gallon fermenter. So this will be able to fit in some smaller spaces. The one thing that I noticed though was with this airlock, it still makes this whole setup really, really tall. So what I'm considering doing is taking that off and using one of my existing airlocks, and this is much smaller, and I'm going to be able to fit this, I think, in places that I could never get my bigger brew bucket. Now, while this is draining and getting ready to boil, let's talk about the hops, because this is where we're going to get the fruitiness of this beer. And we're really going to quite highly hop this, considering it's a stout. We're going to get an IBU of 50. So for the bittering hop, I'm adding in a bag of Target. At 60 minutes, this will give a IBU contribution of about 38. Then at 10 minutes, I'm going to combine half a bag of Motueka from New Zealand and Citra. And yeah, this should really bring a zesty, citrusy flavor and aroma to the beer. So this goes in at 10 minutes, and then at flame out, I'm going to add another half bag of Motueka and Citra. Now, Tropical Stout also has an interesting twist when it comes to yeast. This beer is traditionally brewed with lager yeast fermented at ale temperatures. So when selecting your yeast, you want to find a lager yeast that can tolerate a bit higher temperature. So I'm using Wyeast 2124, which is Bohemian lager, which according to Wyeast is fine to ferment up to 68 Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius, and that's exactly what I'm going to ferment it at. Now, this thing is absolutely dwarfed in my chest freezer. In fact, I realized that it was so small that I can fit it on the shelf of the chest freezer even. So it makes me wonder how many of these I can actually fit in here. Anyway, going to let this ferment for a couple of weeks, and then I am really looking forward to trying this one. Okay, it is time to taste this thing. I'm really looking forward to this. Lauren, welcome to this tasting. I think this is a stout that is going to be quite surprising. And even though I've spoiled it and told you that it is tropical stout, I have had a little taste before this, and it's not like any stout I've had before.
Okay.
So if we look at it, you probably think it's exactly like a stout you've had before, because it looks very much like just a regular old stout, right?
Yeah. Really dark. Can't really see anything through it.
Yep. Yeah. Nice dark color, fairly light head. But how about aroma? Now, previous stouts have definitely had a bit of a roasty aroma. I wonder if you get anything different from this.
It smells kind of sweet and fruity.
Bit of sort of
tropical,
yeah, tropical fruit from this, which I would typically associate with some kind of IPA.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so it looks like a stout, smells like an IPA. What does it taste like?
Let's see. So it still has like that creamy taste of like a stout, but then it has like a little subtle sweetness to it.
Yep, I'm picking up a bit of sweetness too. Are you getting any of the tropical fruit from this?
Yeah, a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The more I drink it.
To me, this tastes a little bit like a black IPA, which does have that sort of slightly more bitter taste to it. But I think it's more fruity than it is bitter.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Like I said, it's creamy and smooth. It's not as bitter as the other stouts that we've had. It's definitely got more of a sweetness.
Yeah. So, per its name, you're supposed to drink this on a hot day or in a warm climate. And I think if I'm going to drink a stout, something like this would be a really good fit.
Yeah, what's the percentage on it?
It's 6%.
Oh, okay.
If you want to try this yourself, everything you need is in the description below. Next week we are doing one more stout before we move on. And this is going to be a little bit stronger than any of them so far.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, but until then, cheers.
Cheers.